Hey guys, welcome to the video. My name's Amanda. I'm a third-year vet student, and in today's video, we're going to be going over 5 mistakes to avoid when you're applying to vet school. I am so excited to film this video for you guys today because I am partnering up with Dr. Lindsey here on YouTube. So you guys are going to be getting double the content. On top of the 5 tips that I'm sharing here on my channel, Lindsey is going to go over an additional 5 tips over on her channel. And what's really cool about this is that you guys are going to be getting the perspective from a Canadian student because I go to school in Ontario, Canada, whereas Lindsey is a vet student in the US. So you guys are going to be getting application tips and advice from students who have gone through both the Canadian application process as well as the American application process. So after you are finished watching this video, make sure you head on over to Lindsey's channel, which I will link down below in the description, and check out the 5 things that she thinks you should avoid when you're applying to vet school so that you guys will be 100% prepared when you are going through the application process. So with that being said, if you haven't checked out Lindsey's YouTube or Instagram, I will link them down below. And if you're coming from Lindsey's channel, hi, welcome. If you want to see more content related to vet school, I am documenting my journey through the program here on YouTube, so definitely feel free to subscribe and welcome to the family. Now, without further ado, let's jump into the 5 mistakes to avoid when you're applying to vet school. Okay, I lied. This is a disclaimer before the tips. These are just my own personal opinions. It's not like they're written anywhere on the vet school application site saying do not do these things, but having gone through the application process twice, these are things that I wish I would have known so that I didn't have to go through them. So speaking from experience, you guys can learn from my mistakes and hopefully make your application process that much smoother. Okay, now that that's out of the way, let's get into the very first tip, and that is do not leave your application until the last minute. So I am definitely speaking from experience on this one. On my first vet school application, I submitted literally 30 minutes before the deadline. So don't do that. That sucked. That was stressful. Avoid it at all costs. The way the application deadline works for OVC in Canada is that the application opens in November or December and then is due February 1st. So this gives you lots of time to open up the application, start brainstorming ideas, and get to inputting your information. My piece of advice is to overestimate the time that you're going to need to complete the application and set a deadline for yourself that is way before the actual deadline. On my second application attempt, I actually aimed to have my entire application completed by January 1st. That way I gave myself lots of extra time to submit it and make sure that I had no technical difficulties when it came to actually submitting the application. Having these deadlines for yourself before you even start filling out the application is going to make your life so much easier, and it'll save you a lot of stress by not leaving it till the very last minute. So that leads me into mistake number 2 to avoid, and don't be the only person to look over your application. The second time I applied to vet school, I had 5 different people read over my application. The reason for this is that you never know who on the admission committee is going to be looking at your application, and you don't know what background they come from. Because of that, I had a variety of different people read over my application so that I covered all of my bases and that I had several set of eyes look over the information. I had a veterinarian read it over, I had a family member read it over, I had a professor read it over, and I had another student read it over. I wanted to make sure that the content on my application was relatable to anyone who was reading it, and by having that many different people read it over, you're just making sure that you're going to catch all your spelling and grammar mistakes. I'm terrible at spelling, so it was a must for me to have a bunch of different people read it over. The first time I applied, I was actually the only person who read over my application, and I think it really limited the perspectives that I got. Whereas when I had multiple people read it over, they had seen my journey to vet school from a variety of different lenses, and they had insight to bring that I didn't even think of. So by having several different people read over my application, I feel like it created a story and it painted a better picture of who I was as a student. So moving on to mistake number 3 to avoid, and that is to make sure you don't leave anything off your application, even if you think it doesn't relate to veterinary medicine. So So if you've never applied to vet school, or if you're curious about the process, your application is broken down into marks and experience. And what I'm specifically talking about in this tip is the experience section of the application. You are going to have to talk about veterinary experience, work experience, animal experience, and extracurricular experience. Now for each of those categories, you can list up to 6 different experiences. Now you don't have to fill out those 6 experiences if you don't have 6 different things for that specific category. But if you have the space on your application to add something, don't leave it off just because you think it's not related to veterinary medicine. Your vet school application is designed to represent you as not only a student, but who you are as an entire person. And vet school and veterinary experience is not your identity and is not the only thing that makes you you. The application committee wants to see what your interests are outside of veterinary medicine. They want to see what you are passionate about and what your hobbies are. To be a good veterinarian, you need to be a very well-rounded person, and the application committee wants to see that. So if you took clarinet lessons for 12 years and you don't want to put it on your application because you think it has nothing to do with veterinary medicine, think again. That is a huge part of your life, and if that's something that you're passionate about, make sure you include it. Those skills and attributes that came from your clarinet lessons and learning how to play an instrument will transfer over into vet school and the profession. So no matter how obscure the experience may seem or how far from the veterinary world it might be, if you feel like you have learned valuable skills and have gotten something out of that experience that will only help you in vet school and become a well-rounded veterinarian, make sure you include that on your application. The committee will appreciate seeing a little bit more of who you are as a person, and it's really great to see how you've been able to connect skills from the outside world and bring them into vet med. So that is tip number 3. Now let's move into mistake number 4 to avoid when you're applying to vet school, and that is don't be scared to brag about yourself. This was one of the things that I kind of struggled with on my vet school applications, because let's be real, it's kind of weird to brag about yourself and tell people about all the great accomplishments that you've achieved without being annoying. But let me put it this way. This application is your chance to show people how hard you have worked to achieve your dreams. I know how many hours and how much stress has gone into this application, and because of that, you should not hold back at all. You should be proud of your accomplishments and how hard you've worked, and this is your chance to highlight all of those things. You deserve a spot in the veterinary program, and this is your chance to show them exactly why. As weird as it might seem to lay all your cards out on the table and tell everyone every single thing you've done for the last how many years to get into the program, make sure you don't hold back and don't leave anything off your application. And really sell yourself and prove exactly why you deserve a spot in this program. Now moving on to the very last mistake to avoid on your vet school application, and that is to not do 100 things just to pad your resume. I always say this, but quality is better than quantity, and that definitely applies to your vet school application. It is so much better to have 3 really solid experiences where you were able to build relationships and really get something out of that experience that you'll be able to apply to your vet school journey, versus having 17 different experiences where you were only really there for a day and you didn't really get much out of it. This is something that I definitely tried to do on my application, and I found it so valuable. The main reason why vet schools want you to get experience is for yourself, so that you can experience the veterinary profession and make sure that this is something you really want to do. So take advantage of that and make sure you are going out and finding experiences that are really going to be valuable and are really going to enhance your understanding of the profession. It can be really overwhelming to try and get a lot of experience for your vet school application, so definitely don't spread yourself too thin, because it'll just make this process more stressful than it needs to be. So there you have it. Those are 5 mistakes to avoid when you are applying to vet school. Now you guys are gonna get a sneak peek of one of Lindsay's tips and one of the things that she thinks you should avoid when you're applying to vet school. So here it is.
So mistake number 2 is not having your essay edited again and again and again. So this is another vital part of your application. It is so important, and it actually took me about 4 to 5 months at least to get it right, and was by far the part of my application that took the longest. Now, I heard that VMCAS recently switched back to an essay format in terms of their personal statement section, which is good news for you guys because it allows you to tell your story, so you better tell it well. And that includes having many pairs of eyes look over your essay, because you never know the perspective that they will bring and the feedback that they will have once they read your essay. And so I previously have a video on my channel, which I will link up above, of many tips for you to write an awesome personal statement. But out of all the tips, I will say this is probably the most important, because my first draft looks drastically different from my final draft, and that has everything to do with people that took the time to look at it, give feedback, which drove me to make the necessary edits and make it into the essay that brought literal tears to the veterinarian that was writing my letter of recommendation. So I am not kidding when I say it makes all the difference to just have a few people look at your essay and give their feedback.
If you like that tip, make sure you head on over to Lindsay's channel and check out her video so that you guys know all of the things to avoid when you're applying to vet school. As always, I hope you guys found this video helpful, and if you have any other questions about vet school or the application process, feel free to send them down below, or you can always send me a message on Instagram. I will make sure I link that in my description as well. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!